of the Red Force PC area. She commutes by subway, exiting through a tunnel that connects the station directly with the PC방.
여기는 한국 종로에 위치한 레드포스 PC 아레나인데요. 24시간 운영 중이고 저는 지금부터 11시까지 근무합니다. 안녕하세요.
Clocked in, she gets ready for the day. Youngseo's first job of the day is counting the money in the register.
The battle starts in 5.
그 전타임에서 돈에 문제가 생겼는지 안 생겼는지를 알기 위해서 정상부터 하고 그 후에 매장 한번 둘러보는 편인데 지금은 좀 한산한 편이고 이따 5시, 6시쯤 되면 그때부터 사람들이 엄청 몰려요.
Done with the register, she shows us the system the staff use.
손님들이 어느 좌석에 앉아있는지 번호랑 좌석들이 나와있는 화면이에요. 좌석을 사용하게 되면은 사용 중이다, 그리고 사용 종료를 했다, 다 여기서 울려요. 이런 휴식한 표시가 생기면 저희가 답을 치우러 가는 겁니다.
This PC방 was built by Dongxin, the company behind Shinhan, together with BNA, a firm that specializes in PCBs. It can seat up to 200 people at a time, which means her hands stay full all day. She heads out to clean any seat flagged with a trash can icon.
저는 청결을 좀 중요시하는 편인데 선반 먼저 닦아주고 모니터 닦아주고 이 모니터는 앞으로 이렇게 조절이 가능한 모니터거든요. 그래서 뒤로 이렇게 밀어주는 거라고. 키보드 같은 것들은 위아래로 이렇게 닦아줍니다.
The next place she heads to is one of the private studios.
여기 각 룸마다 번호랑 커플룸, 3인룸 이렇게 다 적혀 있는데요. 여기는 이제 3인룸이거든요.
Despite all the private rooms, Korean PCbangs are more of a social space than Japan's net cafes, which are usually built for solo players. Korean cities don't leave much room for outdoor hangouts, so after school, students gather indoors in a range of different places called park, which simply means room. Youngseon shows us the best team room
여기는 헤드셋과 키보드 그리고 마우스가 전부 다 로지텍으로 설정되어 있어서 사양이 가장 좋다고 말씀드릴 수 있어요. 제품들이 실제로 프로게이머 분들이 많이 사용하시기도 하고 최신식 본체로 되어 있는데 200만 원 정도로 하는 것 같아요. 그리고 게임에 좀 관심 있는 분들은 다 어느 정도의 장르인지 다 아실 거예요. 커플룸은 시간당 200원 추가가 되고 일반 룸은 시간당 300원 추가가 되고 근데 이 룸은 특히나 좋은 사양과 좋은 장비를 가지고 있기 때문에 시간당 700원 추가가 됩니다.
Opening up PCbang was once a huge trend in Korea. At its peak, there were more than 20,000 around the country. With so much competition, standing for impressive gear and food became essential. Youngseo heads back to the counter, and an order comes in.
56번 자리에서 30을 주문하였습니다.
Every order goes through the computer and is completely contactless. There are about 100 items on the menu, plus a whole range of toppings to go with them.
Feeling stronger already. I'm an easy target.
Youngseo starts cooking.
라바 드셔본분들은 아시겠지만 이제 밥이랑 같이 하고 나서 다 썰려서
Judge, jury, executioner!
얘는 이제 라면을 먹고 싶은데 밥도 먹고 싶을 때 함께 같이 먹기 위해서 라바브를 많이 시키시고 짜게치는 짜파게티, 계란, 치즈라서 이제 짜게치라고 부르는 거거든요. PC방 국룰 음식이죠. 그래서 손님들이 많이 찾아주시고
Most dishes run 6,500 to 8,000 won, roughly $4 to $6. The whole thing is cooked in about 5 minutes.
Only 60 seconds left. Chaos control.
정리의 시간!
What's up, bad guy?
한번에 그리고 여기 보시면은 아까 좌석 번호가 나와 있잖아요. 여기에 자리 번호를 입력하면 손님이 주문하신 음식을 바로 편하게 결제할 수 있어요.
확실히 잘해.
감사합니다. 맛있게 드세요.
Youngson heads on, and the customers dig in. Yes, this really is heaven for gamers.
Final 10 seconds.
But back at the prep station, dishes are waiting for us.
No winner yet.
좋아해서
Overtime.
이제 성인 됐으니까 알바를 시작해야지 하는데 희망 알바가 해보고 싶은 거예요. 그냥 게임하고 싶으면 출근 전이나 퇴근 후에 이렇게 앉아서 게임해도 되고.
Big victory.
맞아요. 저희 매장에 야간 근무자분도 롤 티어가 마스터라고 하시더라고요. 새로운 시즌이 되면은 이번에 새 시즌 해봤냐 이러면서 랭크 돌렸냐 이런 얘기도 많이 하고.
4 p.m. Her next task is sweeping the basement.
여기가 이제 저희 매장 지하인데 여기는 일반적인 게이밍 공간이라기보다는 이벤트 같은 거나 뭐 대회를 열거나 그리고 손님분들이 대관을 원하실 때 이용하시라고 이제 만들어둔 공간인데요.
In Korea, esports are nearly as popular as traditional sports. This space doubles as a venue for fan meetings.
농심 팀원분들이 되게 많이 방문해서 이벤트 참여해주세요. 저번에는 주말에 저 레드포트 인텍 컷 이벤트 때문에 주말에 줄이 카운터까지 이렇게 쫙 서 있었어요.
After she makes one full sweep of the floor, another duty is done.
But it does help.
It's hard to feel time passing down here, but her day goes on. Back at the prep station, she keeps making drinks until a couple of customers walk up.
Sorry, it's my first time here. I don't have a Korean phone number. Can I still use the computer?
Let's see if I can remember that new spell Steven taught.
She pulls out a translation app.
Okay.
30 seconds before you attack.
Your ID,
Get ready.
password, name, birth. Okay.
You are dabbling with
She takes down their
powers that no
names and sets up
mortal was
accounts for
meant to
them.
possess.
그럼 저희가 여기서 회원가입 절차 도와드리고
Quite the
그리고
opposite.
좌석도 원하시는
If you're
좌석
not
이렇게 안내해드린
careful, you're
다음에
bound to
이렇게
lose
두 분이서
your
오신
soul.
경우에는 되도록이면 커플룸을 추천해드립니다. 이쪽으로 오시겠어요?
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Is it okay?
All you need to do is capture the mission area.
Nice.
Got it?
Sorry. Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. 지금 여름이라서 많이 덥잖아요. 근데 룸을 이용하실 때는 이제 폐쇄되어 있는 공간이다 보니까 손님들이 더우실 수 있단 말이에요. 그래서 제가 미리 혹시 에어컨을 원하시냐고 물어봤어요. 근데 원하신다고 하셔서 지금 카운터에 가서 틀어드리고.
By the time the air conditioning is on, it's almost 5 p.m.
지금은 다 서비스가 다 되어 있고 음식 종류가 없어서 저는 쌈이라서 밥을 좀 먹어볼까 합니다. 저는 우삼겹 김치덮밥을 제일 좋아해서 이거 먹으려고 하는데 우삼겹이랑 쌈밥소스랑 김치랑 김가루랑 같이 나가는 메뉴예요.
That's better.
Youngsa heads to one of the empty rooms for her meal.
Chaos always prevails.
She sits down to finally rest for a moment.
저 밥 먹을 때 넷플릭스 같은 거 자주 보는 편이에요. 넷플릭스, 디즈니, 왓챠, TV까지 사용하실 수 있고요. 매장에서 제공하는 어플은 이미 다 로그인을 하고 저희가 돈을 지급하고 있는 것들이기 때문에 따로 지급 안 하셔도 편하게 바로 이용하실 수 있어요. 밥 종류도 지금 다양하게 있고요. 김치찌개부터 양념갈비, 그리고 지금 제가 먹고 있는 우상적 김치덮밥도 여기 있고 그냥 카페 음료, 스무디 종류도 다양하고요. 저희 게임은 여기에 이제 인기 게임들은 따로 모아뒀고요. 온라인 게임, FPS, 스포츠, 기본적으로 리그 오브 레전드랑 배틀그라운드를 가장 많이 사용하시는 것 같은데 대중적인 게임들이 PC방에서 이용을 할 시 좀 혜택들이 있어요. 예를 들어서 리그 오브 레전드는 PC방에서 게임을 하면 모든 신분들이 다 사용할 수 있다는 장점이 있고 그래서 손님분들이 뭐 게임에서 이벤트를 한번 하면 충분히 많이 오세요.
In Korea, how much a game is played in PCbangs works as proof of its popularity.
A nice deep freeze.
리그 오브 레전드를 가장 좋아합니다. 그래서 사이 에메랄드 다이아하려고 열심히 하고 있어요.
As she gets ready to go back to work, she turns off the PC.
제가 방금 사용 능력 버튼을 눌렀는데요. 이 버튼을 누르면 제가 여기서 진행하고 그리고 그리고 일반 게임들도 사용한 정보가 모두가 다 사라져요.
She heads out once again. As evening sets in, the rush starts. People start pouring into the PCbang. But this time, it's not just order slips for the kitchen that are building up. A complaint hits the counter.
방금 손님께서 마우스가 잘 안 된다고 교체해달라고 하셔서 저희가 이제 영어
I am
마우스를
ready to put on a show.
꺼내서 교체해드리고
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
마우스 교체 어디 해드릴까요?
Only 60 seconds left.
일단 이 마우스를
Opening a portal.
She's the cook, the server, and at the same time, the technician responsible for over 200 computers.
Armed and dangerous!
She clears dishes, restocks, orders replacements for what's running low, and brings in fresh supplies.
Down to 30 seconds.
It's a minute before 10. An hour left until her shift ends. But before she clocks in, there's one last important task waiting for Youngsa.
이제 10시까지 1분 남았거든요. 저희가 10시가 되면 3시간 있어야 돼요. 10시 이후로부터는 이제 성인분들만 드실 수 있어서 이제 퇴실이 되기 전에 그래도 확인차 한 번 더 신분증 검사를 하러 갈 겁니다.
Well, you can't expect to win them all.
실례합니다. 저희 곧 10시라서 신분증 검사 한 번만 할게요. 감사합니다. 감사합니다.
By law, minors can't stay in a PCbang past 10 p.m. If they are still there after that cutoff, the owner faces a fine, and in serious cases, a business suspension. Sending young customers home at 10 p.m. is one of the most important tasks here.
근데 10시 넘어서 이제 미성년자가 들어오시는
네. 저희가 10시 이후가 지나면은 카운터에서 모든 전 좌석을 예약석으로 바꿔놔요. 예약석으로 바꿔놓으면은 손님 좌석에서 화면을 켰을 때 예약석입니다. 카운터에 문의해주세요라고 뜨거든요. 그렇게 뜨면 이용하고 싶으시면 어쩔 수 없이 카운터로 오셔야 돼요.
When it's almost 11 p.m., the night shift worker comes in to take the baton.
But it does help.
부모님 안녕하세요. 정산부터 하시게요? 네. 저희 오늘 인수인계 사항은 아까 이분께서 블랙 이어폰 분실하셨다고 찾아오셨는데 혹시
Youngsa informs the next shift workers of any issues that happen during the day. The worker checks the register, just as Youngsa did at the beginning of her shift.
맞아요?
About a magics to
이렇게
get us.
맞으면 저는 이제 완벽하게 퇴근할 수 있는 겁니다.
With everything in order, it's finally time for her to clock out. She takes off the apron she's worn all day
You mean back when
Then
you used
she heads off.
children as weapons in your crusade against
Not
mankind?
toward the exit, but back into the Pishibang itself.
Then at least we can finally
The
agree.
battle starts in 5, 4,
근데 퇴근 안
2,
하시나요?
1.
저 퇴근했는데
You have to stop
게임
them
좀
from
하다가 가고
securing the
싶어서
mission area.
평소에도 안 힘든 날에는 이렇게 퇴근하고 게임 좀 하다 갈까? 네, 저는 낮에 PC방 가는 것보다 새벽에 가는 PC방이 되게 좋더라고요. 혼자 이렇게 그냥 새벽에 조용할 필요 없는데 와서 게임하는 거 되게 좋아요.
Just like every night, the Pishibang's lights stay on around the clock. Just as it serves as a restaurant to some, a playground to others, and a place to relax for someone else. It is her place to unwind and enjoy. Good night, and see you the next day.
Every ark will be destroyed.
Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2. The first finals, the former world champion Zerg in the rank. Facing off against the youngest professional player in Korea, the Terran in blue. We have Percival in a best of 5 Terran versus Zerg final towards Monday night StarCraft 2 tournament. Before we get started, the incredible you could smash that like button, maybe even subscribe. We got the 1,884 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyway, because I know what else I can do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. As the Reaper comes in, pokes a drone. Drone retreats into a spore crawler, as they're known to do. Its friend, feeling very left out, but now it's left to leave its lost town. As the Reaper gets away with murder, the Zerglings will try to scratch it on the way out. But jumps away, off to a strong start. Percival against someone many years in many tournaments has seen. But wait, there's a drone in the corner. Trying to get to the side, snips into the extractor. So since the extractor is slightly larger than the gas capsule, take that a tape measure if you like. If you physically block it by being right next to it, the Reaper, they can't get in. But in this case, the drone able to set fire. That's why Percival was attempting to do so. But Rogue actually just ran the Zerglings across the map. Percival getting in, throws a grenade. Queens will take issue with it. The Zerglings will take more issue. Oh, and he doesn't let him. You can't just let the Zerglings in. That's a rule older than Percival himself. Fun fact, he was born before Brugor came out. How's the back pay? The Zerglings will kill the Marine, the Hellions will kill the Zerglings, and the world keeps turning. But barracks, starport, switch places. The barracks warming up that add-on, the tech lab port. Starport will probably hand it back eventually. But to start, Hellions and Banshee. And somewhat relevantly, no third commit. Well, Zerglings going back to take another SCV. And, okay, are we done? No, 2? Alright. Well, Rogue clearly took some issue with the Reaper activities. And took more issue with SCVs. So, when all is said and done, at least for now, a couple of SCVs dragged everything back. He traded the Zerglings for it, but Rogue has a third base already most of the way done. Third command center part of the wall. As the SCV is scrambling about doing some civic engineering to make sure he has something resembling him. A few more Zerglings have slipped along the right side. You're on Blackrock, which is our most archaeologically curious map. And to be honest, Percival originally made his name. I don't think it was Rogue. It may have been Rogue. Punching well above his weight class, at least in terms of StarCraft 2 professional experience, by essentially dismantling top-tier players on new maps, using the terrain. Because if you take Terran and just put Iron, says Percival, but what do you get? Terran, no, terrain. Okay, I'm here all night, please. Don't try, like it's... There's destructible rocks almost everywhere. There's choke points that can be... I can't believe I have not seen a single Terran put a siege tank. Yes, you could put a siege tank on the high ground. Just like its Lost Temple in 2010, when Percival was only 8 years old. Moves on the way to fortuitous death. The Banshees will actually slip on high. That spore car obviously cries. And now several drones will die. As Rogue actually had it in the right spot and moved it at the last second.
Another epic
1-1 is on the way. The Banshee will buy some time, but Rogue's already at 57 drones. 55 drones, man. But the Hellions working around the edges, but Rogue is, for the most part, in quite a comfortable spot. The Hellions and Banshees trying to make it less comfortable, but he's already off to a solid drone lead, despite the 300 mineral command centers. Percival not able to expand. That doesn't help you get map control that much quicker, especially if you've lost SCVs early on, and your Banshees and Hellions are on the other side of the map. But now the door is wide open. I don't think the Zerglings are going to be coming in. And the wall is being rebuilt, and with a siege tank, yeah, that's not going to happen. Hellions looking to chase. Banshees coming back for a quick repair, assuming the SCVs are paying attention. Still not a wall. Maybe he's trying to make it... Every once in a while, I've seen Maru do this. I don't know if it's intentional. Making an actual funnel, where there is technically a path for the Zerglings to go. So if you're not paying attention, they will all...
Today, I want to talk to you all about how to stop taking things personally. So as we go through life, oftentimes people will tell us things that we don't want to hear, and we take it incredibly personally. They'll say things like, oh bro, like, don't take it so personally, man, like it's not really you. Or if we're going through a breakup, like, oh my god, it's not you, it's me. And it's infuriating. And when I work with my patients, one of the most important things that has transformed their lives is to teach them how to stop taking things personally. When you take things personally, it creates bad feelings and bad outcomes. And if we can learn how to stop taking things personally, which ironically means accepting responsibility, those two are at opposite ends of the spectrum, as I hope to show you, what we'll discover is that it will help you feel better and do better. Now, I was even debating
Hey there! Rockstar announces a massive extended look at GTA 6 with a twist. Tencent's attempt to compete with Grand Theft Auto falls flat on its face. Xbox and Sony keep making headlines, but not in a good way, and much, much more. Welcome back to the Force Feed. This is the first new episode in 7 years. It's been 7 years. Got a lot to catch up on, but let's start out with this week's gaming news. What is new? What's interesting? What have I been playing? And what can we look forward to? Let's dive in. Kicking things off, Grand Theft Auto 6 has a big reveal planned for later this month. On Thursday, October 27th at 3 p.m. Eastern, we will be getting an extended look at the game on Netflix? Yes, that's right. Netflix will be premiering a gaming preview. It's going to be exclusive on the platform for around 6 hours before the showcase then goes live on YouTube, which means 6 straight hours of Rockstar scrambling to take down any restreams, recordings, and uploaded videos of the event within that window, which will undoubtedly be spreading across the internet. This is, of course, going to happen. Best of luck to everyone involved trying to stop that and take that stuff down. Now, no doubt Netflix, of course, paid buttloads of money for that 6-hour exclusivity window, which they intend to recoup in however many millions of new Netflix signups they get in the process. I do wonder if they're going to just offer a bunch of free trials where people have to sign up with their cards and hope they forget and don't cancel and get charged anyways. That's probably gonna happen, right? Anyway, details on the event itself are limited. The 30-second teaser trailer was literally a splash screen of the game's logo with some music, with an announcement of an announcement. Now, on the Netflix page detailing the event, it says, see an extended look at Grand Theft Auto 6, the next evolution in the groundbreaking Grand Theft Auto series. And then when you go down to more details, it says the show is slick, rousing, adventure, high octane, imaginative, cars, action, thriller, and apparently it's a movie. Okay, I'm assuming we're gonna get a bunch of new gameplay here, maybe some teases of features and mechanics. Like the phrase extended look to me sort of implies something like an overview video, like touching on a few key points, showing us some footage. I'm actually excited. I've not really been following much GTA 6 news up until this point, but seeing as there's gonna be nothing else to play in November anyways, I'll likely have the time to play this. And hey, I already have a Netflix account, so you're not squeezing any extra money out of me, dudes. But yeah, I'll check it out. The exclusivity is kind of funny though, but it goes to show just how massive Grand Theft Auto is. Like, has Netflix ever done this for any other game before? Not that I've heard of. Although they have been getting more into gaming. There's literally a whole section of games you can play via Netflix. I noticed it a few weeks back. So yeah, GTA 6, biggest thing in gaming. Let's see more of it. Can't wait, dude. Over the past 6 years, Tencent has been working on a game that they hoped would be a direct competitor to Grand Theft Auto called The Last Sentinel. Described as a narrative-focused open-world action game set decades from now in a reconstructed Tokyo, this was initially revealed back in December 2023 with a 2-minute trailer. Entirely cinematic, there was no gameplay here, but it did showcase some characters, the environment, the tone of the game. I think it seemed neat enough. Well, since that announcement, they've been fairly quiet, releasing but a handful of short behind-the-scenes videos on their YouTube channel. Unfortunately, though, it looks like the game was headed in a direction they aren't happy with, as just last week they laid off a bunch of staff and said that the game would be shifting direction dramatically. The studio making the game, Lightspeed LA, said in their official statement that it would be shifting the creative and development direction of The Last Sentinel to deliver the experience players expect. So reportedly what happened here is they've been working on the game, and then internal testing over the past couple of years just continuously came back negative. At this point, after 6 years in development and hundreds of millions of dollars spent, Tencent more or less is looking to pull the plug, at least on what their initial vision was. Now, there are some rumors going around that the game may end up just being outright canceled, although as of yet, that's not the official public statement, so I'm sure we will learn more in the coming months. Xbox is back in the news, this time for another price hike of their hardware. They announced some time ago that due to the global shortage of memory and storage and the rising cost, it's that much more expensive for them to manufacture their boxes, and that cost is being passed on to consumers. We now know exactly what this means, with some increases as high as 33% to what they were just prior in the year. So in Europe, the Series S is going from €400 to €600, the Series X climbing from €600 to €800. Similar increases are also happening here in the UK. The latest announcement that comes after the price increase that we learned about in the States, and that was the Series S went from $450 to $600, and the X from $650 to $800. And the truth is, this likely isn't going to be the end of it either. Like, we may continue to see some price hikes if the price of all these components continue to rise. I do want to say on this topic, as dire as these price hikes seem, as they are, I do want to shed a potential silver lining here when it comes to the rising cost of hardware. What I hope becomes the outcome is that all of the gaming hardware, it's getting more expensive. It's incredibly expensive at the moment, and as a result, no doubt that less and less people are going to be able to afford top-of-the-line stuff, of course. So my hope here is that this results in more games being tailored to mid and lower end systems, the hardware that people have currently or that they can afford if they're buying new stuff, be that in the PC or the console space, because that's going to be where a larger and larger percentage of the user base is able to play in the coming years. So better optimization across a larger swath of hardware power levels, that's the hope. If gaming companies, especially in the AAA space, don't consider this, then what I expect the result's going to be is just people continuing to play these older games, the games that they're already playing nonstop, continue to play Fortnite, continue to play Minecraft, continue to play CS, Counter-Strike, you know what I mean? Because they can't run reasonably the higher end games that are trying to push crazy fidelity levels unless they're optimized for those systems that people do have. Yeah, that's kind of my hope, if anything comes of this. Now, in more positive Xbox news, it looks like their upcoming next-gen hardware, in the next couple of years, whenever that comes out, is going to include support for Xbox 360 games. What's more is that they're also planning to release those games on PC as well. This reporting comes out of The Verge, who received a leaked document sent to developers of multiple 360 360 titles.
4,
In the document,
3,
it claims that
2,
devs will retain
1.
control over the game's price and
You
whether
have
it's
to stop
available on
them
Game
from
Pass,
securing the
and that
mission
the
area.
plan is to have a gradual rollout across next-gen devices between 2027 and 2028. This kind of backwards compatible support is cool to see. Even more though, as someone who's primarily a PC gamer, getting a bunch of 360 games on a computer sounds awesome. I'm here for it. As you may have heard and seen over the past few weeks, Sony's online reputation has been in free fall. Following the announcements that come 2028, they're going to be going entirely digital. In other words, they're no longer releasing games. The response to this was swift and harsh from online communities, especially collectors, and people who enjoy having physical goods, having a thing that they purchase. Despite the ever-growing trend of purchasing digital over physical, there's clearly still a large vocal overlap. And I get it, there was a time where physical was the only way I would have been able to play most games. Going to GameStop, swapping something that I need for $3 credit and then covering the rest. That's how I acquired and played games for a bulk of my years, really. Not that GameStop is much of an option for anyone anymore, but there is clearly still a market for second-hand games, and for some people, it's literally the only way they can. So yeah, Sony said no more physical. The internet collectively said, screw you. We don't care if most people are buying digital. We still want physical as an option. Now, in the time since, Sony has continued to double down. It seems that they have no intention of reversing course. In fact, I just saw this. Apparently, PS5 consoles that are being sold at the moment have this massive notice on the box that says, from January 2028, newly released games for PlayStation store and at retailers in digital only. They are committed, come hell or high water. Now, personally, for starters, fully in support of anyone who wants to own physical media and have that be the way to purchase games. I will say though, as for myself, I've not bought a physical game in over the years, after like so many moves, I have continuously shed physical goods. I gave all my Magic cards to a bunch of my friends. I just played them when I was out. All of the gaming collectibles I've ever acquired, like figurines, cases, and any collector's edition stuff, I've donated. I mean, hell, I even have given most of the clothes that I don't wear on a regular basis to the Salvation Army. I don't look to impose this on anyone. I'm just saying for me, like the fewer goods and stuff junking up my house and taking up space in the shelf or in the closet, the better. I still obviously have stuff that I enjoy, right? But in general, I don't really have desire for stacks of plastic cases and discs. But that said, I think the bigger picture here isn't whether or not I want to have physical goods. I'm not trying to like Mr. or something in my crazy lifestyle. But it's more so, I think the bigger picture here is, you know, people want to own what they buy, right? And I care less about the physical goods themselves, obviously, but I do care more about actually owning what we spend our money on. So physical aside, like if we want to keep our games and have control over it and being able to revisit them and having the option to, that's the bigger picture. Less so about the physical side of it, but more about like digital ownership. And I think that's what we should ideally be pushing towards. And I hope that's what happens. I mean, how is Stop Killing Games going, right? Is it going all right? I think it's going. Something's happening from last I saw. Speaking of things you don't own, that's something MMO news I want to go over for you guys. In just a couple of weeks, Stars Reach will be entering access to a sci-fi sandbox MMO called Playable Worlds, a studio created by Raph Koster and David Jorgensen. Koster notably was the designer of Ultimate Online and Galaxy, while Jorgensen directed PlanetSide, Tribe 2, and ran EverQuest for a handful of years. Their upcoming game looks to bring the sandbox back to MMORPGs. Lots of world interaction, discovering planets, transforming the environment, building settlements, and tons of player-driven content. According to their Steam page, Stars Reach is an ambitious MMO in the spirit of classic player-driven games, built atop a groundbreaking simulation that models real-world behavior. Rivers flow and flood, forests grow naturally, and mining locations without other features include multiple skill paths mastery, trailblazer, terminal architect, more, tons of different weapons and playstyles you can create, lots of community-driven activities, or you can be a hermit in the woods if you want, and a full player-driven economy, which is from a crafting master and sell trades across the galaxy. Some pretty neat ideas here. The game's visuals are kind of hit or miss from what I see. heavily recommend it. However, with the recent Microsoft layoffs of ZeniMax Online Studios,
Power beyond sight.
One staff, and as a result, their planned content release schedule for the coming year has obviously shifted, and now we have more details. Specifically, a few things that were slated for 2026, including the new trial and classroom version, the update 52. Those have been pushed into 2027. The goal here is, quote, giving our teams the runway they need to do things right. Some of our upcoming additions, like the Classic Combat Refresh and our new trial, are highly complex, and we want to ensure that they hit the mark before we get commands, which I think is a good thing. The alternative being
By the eye of Agamotto!
sucks and feels unfinished, because it sucks and
unseen
feels unfinished. So yeah, I'd rather wait a couple months. There's still plenty coming for 2026. Update 51 launches on September 28th, which will include a new challenge, the Nowhere Halls, a new game
Ionic
rumors,
magic!
and some player experience events like achievement and customizable HUD, hybridization, antiquities, improvements, and a bunch of quality of life updates. And then on October 21st, they are launching Season 2 with solo dungeons. The Greymoor chapter and Markarth DLC will be free for everybody. New Golden Pursuits to highlight Skyrim, and the improved Emerald Tome. And again, they've lost half of their staff. A delay in some of their planned 2026 content totally makes sense. I prefer they get it right. Chrono Odyssey looks like we now have a official release for this game. This is coming out of Kakao. As I said, the game will be releasing in the second quarter of 2027.
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
No more delays. More information will be made publicly available before the end of 2026. Now, if this doesn't happen later this month at Gamescom, I suspect maybe around the Game Awards in December is when we'll get it. The last time I played, it was a technical disaster, bugs, glitches, and just not working right in a lot of ways. But there were some neat ideas, and the combat was actually decent, and I thought the world was cool. The devs have been super responsive to all of the critical feedback, and we will see if they've made the necessary improvements. Alright, so let's move on to some of the games that are playing. Stuff in here I think you should be aware of. Sephiria, I had never heard of this game. Last Tuesday, I was putzing around on Steam DB and saw it had a ton of players, so I was like, okay, let's check this out. Booted up a couple of YouTube videos, and after a few minutes, I immediately bought it. It's awesome, dude. If you are into top-down action combat roguelikes, this seems very well made. I've played it for about 10 hours thus far and have had a great time. Lots of interesting build varieties, weapon choices, combat feels solid, and the more I progress, the more challenging and fun it's become. Unlocking harder modes, more over-the-top builds to play with. It's also got this really interesting inventory system. So as you play, you get these items that grant various powers in the run, and then other items that will add levels to adjacent tiles, but oftentimes in exchange of decreasing levels in other tiles. So part of the game is trying to arrange your inventory in a way to maximize the number of plus levels you get for your best stuff. It's pretty neat. Also, the game costs less than the price of a McDonald's hamburger right now. It's $9 at the moment. I can see why this thing has overwhelmingly positive rating on Steam. It's really good. Also, there is a demo available as well on the Steam page, so you can just give it a look and decide if it's something you're interested in purchasing, which I love it, man. Bring back demos for games, especially the good ones. I also think there's like a clear level of confidence on display here. When your game releases, to still have a free demo available, it's like a Chad move, as they say. You're like, yeah, man, try out our game. We think you'll probably like it. And yeah.
Let's see if I can remember that new spell Steven taught me.
Vengeance!
They'll be coming in 30 seconds. Stay strong.
You came here from the year 2099? But you haven't aged a day, Natasha. What's your secret?
A balanced diet, lots of cardio, and a healthy dose of super soldier serum.
And I thought my magic worked miracles.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You have to stop them from securing the mission area.
Well, look at you. Like this. Place is like a fairy tale kingdom.
Limitless magic.
won't make the same mistakes again.
Be right back.
He doesn't deserve that.
Reborn
You need to
from the
stop that
chaos.
vehicle in its tracks.
Adios, muchachos.
I've located an enemy.
Don't mind me. I'm just
Better stop that vehicle.
You're welcome.
That's better.
Trouble has arrived.
Under my spell.
I'll patch you up.
Secret revealed.
The winning stretch! Hey, Petey, enjoy the amplifier!
Under my spell. Disappear!
At least you went out strong, dude.
Pulse charge!
They've made it halfway. Stop them.
I won't make the same mistakes again.
Target neutralized.
Better stop that vehicle.
Not so fast.
We need to reduce their momentum. It ain't cheap. Trouble has arrived.
There's still a chance to stop them.
Never miss.
Feeling stronger already. You're not going anywhere.
Yo soy el final.
That topped me off. Thanks.
They hit a checkpoint. Now might be a good time to stop them.
I've tagged a hotspot.
Sí, claro. Aquí estás.
Behold!
Better stop that
Child! Feeling stronger already.
I'll patch you up.
Expected better. Face oblivion.
Goodbye.
I'll patch you up.
Sorcerer Supreme!
Time for a blow.
Feeling stronger already. Sorcerer Supreme!
Stop them in their tracks. It's now or never. Stop them.
Reborn from goodbye. For now.
Better stop that vehicle.
Don't mind me. I'm just dying.
Don't give them another inch. Or else.
Disappear!
The right heroes could make all the difference.
You don't have to be a witch to find the magic in this world, but it does help. Let's see if I can remember that new spell Steven taught me.
So the other day, my wife is like, look, I want to go to dinner with these people. I know you don't like the husband very much. I know it's going to be hard for you, but I'd really like to go. And I said, oh no, it's not that big of a deal. You know, I used to dislike him, but then I worked through that and now it's totally fine. And then she was like kind of confused by that. She was like, what do you mean you worked through it? And I was like, yeah, I disliked this person, but then I went through my process and now we're actually, it's totally fine. Like I'm totally cool with that. And then she's like, this is the kind of stuff that you should really make a video about. How do you go through a process and stop disliking someone? We talk about conquering a lot of emotions, like sadness, regret, how do I overcome grief, how do I overcome anxiety. But dislike or hostility is one of the emotions that most of us never even want to conquer. Maybe if you're in anger management and you get in trouble with the law, then you need to work on your hostility. But for most of us, disliking someone is one of the most addictive emotions that we experience. If we dislike someone, we won't interact with them as much. We won't let them get away with the crap that they usually get away with. Dislike is one of the emotions that we think helps us a lot because it motivates behavior. I hate my job, therefore I'm going to quit. I'm starting to realize how much I dislike my friend, therefore I'm going to cut all ties with them. So we become reliant on dislike, and we love it, right? Think about the things in life that you dislike, the things that you hate. Oh my God, we're in late stage capitalism, or I hate this particular group of people, or this particular political party, and it's so damn addictive. But it turns out that dislike is actually one of the most harmful emotions. And even if you use it as motivation to move you in the right way, it's not going to work. And the reason for that is very simple. See, anytime we use an emotion to motivate our behavior, the problem is that the emotion will fluctuate over time, right? Dislike or hatred is maybe a little bit different. The emotion will go up and go down. That's just the natural nature of emotions, right? So I'm angry today. I'm fucking gonna uninstall this video game because it's so annoying. And then a couple days later, I'm less annoyed with the video game, so I reinstall. So we tend to rely on dislike as motivation, but that tends to lead to inconsistent behavior. Now, I want to tell you all a story. So I had a patient once who really disliked his boss and really disliked his job. So he worked in finance, and then his boss would be like, okay, we're traveling to Europe to do this big deal, and boss liked to do cocaine. Boss liked to engage with prostitutes, and my patient just was not into that. So sort of disliked this guy, but the straw that kind of broke the camel's back was one day boss says, hey, we've got a client meeting at 8 a.m. I need you to be at the office at 6 a.m. I know it's early. I want to go over the presentation between 6 and 7 so that everything is buttoned up. Boss is supposed to look at the presentation the day before, got busy, who knows with what. They said cocaine to prostitutes. He's like, I need you to be there at 6 so that we can go over everything. Be ready by 7. We're going to leave at 7, go to the client's place. My patient, being a very, very good banker, shows up at 5:50. Right 10 minutes early, proceeds to wait for 40 minutes. His boss is late. Boss shows up on the 48th floor of their building, is flustered, is late at 6:30. He's like, hey, I'm sorry that I'm late. Boss has keys to the office because this is before the reception people and things are there. So my patient has been waiting for 40 minutes outside of the office. That's bad enough. Then boss says, give me just a second. I really need to go pee. Runs down the hall and uses the bathroom while my patient is waiting outside. Doesn't even have the courtesy to let him in, and instead decides to go pee. This is the kind of thing that my patient absolutely hates. And you may have people in your life that you dislike because of these reasons. Because we love to dislike people. Disliking people is a huge problem, and it costs us so much that we don't even realize. Because dislike is one of the most addictive emotions we have. So there's something called the hostile attribution bias. And basically, the more you dislike something, the more hostile you are towards it, the less clearly your mind functions. There are huge biases that start to enter your mind when you dislike someone. And if you've ever been on the receiving end of someone's dislike, once the professor or teacher or parent or one of your friends decides, someone in your social group decides that they dislike you, winning them over becomes incredibly difficult. They start to see all of the things that you're doing in the wrong light, and it feels like you can't win. Here's the crazy thing. When you dislike someone, there is an equal level of cognitive bias. And we don't quite realize how crucial this cognitive bias is. It shapes our perception, so it shapes even the way that we pick up particular bits of information. It shapes the way that we interpret that information. It even determines what our solution space is. So when you dislike someone, there may be certain methods that you can use to actually solve problems with them, which your mind will not let you see. And most importantly, dislike shapes our behavior. And generally speaking, all of these effects are in the negative direction. Hey y'all, if you want to learn more about different mental health concepts, check out Dr. K's guide. How does experience shape us? How do we strengthen the mind itself as an organ?
So it doesn't really matter what studies you look at. It turns out that meditating for about 20 minutes a day is what we're shooting.
And if you want to go further with meditation, we just added a feature to help you build a consistent practice no matter where you are in life. With meditation tracks, you can set goals and track your progress through beginner, intermediate, and advanced tasks. Each practice builds on the previous week, so you're not just developing a routine, you're leveling up your meditation skills along the way. Get Dr. K's guide and meditation tracks today at healthybeginner.gg/guide, or click the link in the description below. Now back to it. The more dislike and hostility that you have towards someone, the more it will affect your cardiovascular system, and this is associated with all kinds of negative physical health outcomes. Dislike is also associated with things like rumination. So I know this one sounds kind of weird, but even if I'm disliking this person over here, it turns out that disliking this person will affect my mental health in all of these other categories. So this is where things get a little bit tricky, but the more that I dislike someone, the more cortisol I have floating through my system, the more my stress system is activated, right? I don't like them. And the problem is that cortisol lasts in our body for about 24 hours and shapes our thinking, shapes our ability to see in non-black and white. So cortisol basically makes our mind function in a black and white sort of way. And if you look at people who are hostile and engaged in a lot of dislike, they have a lot of difficulty seeing nuance. They have a lot of difficulty seeing shades of gray, and they have a lot of difficulty solving problems effectively. So even though we're addicted to hostility and disliking things, it turns out really doesn't help us. So how do we deal with this? This is where a lot of the research on hostility and disliking someone also talks about forgiveness. So here are a couple of studies that analyze the role of forgiveness, self-forgiveness in reducing hostility, being able to forgive other people. And this is where I have to depart from the literature a little bit. Even though there are a lot of good studies that show the value of forgiveness, in my mind, there is a separation between forgiving someone and not disliking them. So I think we get actually all of the health benefits from removing the dislikes without even necessarily forgiving them. Because a lot of the people that I work with will sort of fall into this trap of, okay, I hate this person, now I have to forgive them. But once I forgive them, I'm opening the door to their crappy behavior. So they sort of oscillate between forgiveness and dislike, and then it doesn't end up working well. And I think the reason it doesn't work well is because of the fundamental way that emotions work. So if I am relating to you in an emotional way, if I let my emotions dictate how I react to you, if that emotion changes, my behavior will change. And this is what's really tricky. A lot of times that forgiveness is actually driven by guilt. So I dislike you, I'm never going to talk to you again. Now I feel guilty, now I feel bad, now I feel some degree of compassion for you, and I'm controlled by that emotion as well. So I forgive you, I let you back into my life, and then you end up hurting me in the same way again. So many of the people that I've worked with really don't want to forgive. I've had plenty of patients who have suffered all kinds of abuse, and so forgiveness seems like something that is like really, really hard to do. But the real problem with forgiveness isn't the forgiveness itself, it's the behaviors that we start tolerating when we forgive someone. So I have this process that I go through to stop disliking someone. And I find that this process is really helpful, not only for me in my own mental state, reduces my rumination, reduces my stress, hopefully improves my cardiovascular health, but it actually allows me to deal with the person way more effectively. And the reason for that is because I'm looking at them with a tranquil mind, right? So internally, I'm not letting my dislike color my perception. I see them for who they are. And this is what's really interesting. What I try to do is be as judgmental as possible without disliking them at all. So I want to judge their actions dispassionately. I want to be able to look at their behaviors and their patterns and not get bent out of shape because they're behaving a certain way. I even do this when I play video games, right? So if I'm playing a game of Dota 2 where people are like doing things that are really stupid, if you dislike this person and you let your dislike get in the way, it actually narrows your solution space. You don't see how, just because this person is feeding in a particular lane, you don't see how, okay, the reason they're feeding in the lane is because they're bad. And since we're all at the same rank, everybody is bad. And if they're feeding in a particular lane, there's a good chance that the enemy will also make stupid mistakes. Once you see things in a dispassionate and clear way, it allows you to actually navigate the situation in a healthier way. So how do we go through this process of removing dislike from the equation and seeing things more clearly? So this is where I cultivate some degree of compassion, and that's the word of word here, because compassion doesn't mean tolerance of behavior. So how do I go through this process of removing dislike? So I start with sort of a karmic perspective. And what I sort of try to remind myself as a psychiatrist is that most human beings are doing the best that they know how to do. Now you may be thinking about the people in your life that you think, oh, they could be doing a lot better, like they could be trying a lot harder. But as a psychiatrist, I've seen that most of the people that I work with, the reason they don't try harder is because they actually don't know how to try harder. So I want you to think about the stuff that you could be doing. Theoretically, you could be doing potentially way more stuff, but you don't try harder, right? You sort of try in a really, like you try really hard, but from the outside, it may not look like you're trying very hard at all. And I've realized that this is like universal for the human